I want you to imagine, just for a second, a really extreme behavioral paradox.
Okay.
Like, a mother witnesses the international abduction of her own 11-year-old daughter.
Right. Which is already a nightmare.
Exactly. And the perpetrator is her abusive ex-husband.
Oh, wow.
But her reaction to this massive, severe real-world crime is just complete, absolute passivity. I mean, she does nothing at all.
That makes zero sense.
Right. But then on the flip side, her long-distance partner sets a really minor boundary.
Like what kind of boundary?
Like something as simple as limiting a video call. And in response to that, she unleashes this lethal, multi-jurisdictional cyber war to completely destroy his life.
I mean, it sounds like a bad movie script, honestly. It's a total psychological contradiction.
It really is.
Because, you know, you naturally expect that fierce protective instinct to kick in for the child.
Right, the mama bear instinct.
Exactly. And maybe you'd expect a brief, kind of annoying argument over the video call. But in this case, the responses are just entirely inverted. The threat responses are completely upside down.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are looking at a massive stack of forensic data that proves this exact bizarre scenario actually happened in real life.
Yeah, and it's a wild ride.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're looking at the digital footprint of Suvi Kaipainen, who is a European digital nomad, and Alberto Daniel Hill, an elite Uruguayan computer forensics expert.
And this is really a case study in what happens when trauma just becomes totally weaponized.
Definitely. And just so we're clear on our mission today, you know, for everyone listening, we are not just reading a gossip narrative here.
No, not at all.
We're testing and validating a very specific hypothesis documented in these reports.
Right, and the hypothesis is essentially this. Suvi exhibited a profound behavioral paradox where she ignored a severe real-world crime against her minor child.
Which is just awful.
It is. While simultaneously fabricating this massive public campaign, accusing Alberto of being a romance scammer.
A claim that, frankly, the forensic data conclusively proves she knew was completely false.
Exactly. So if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, you know, this sounds like a typical true crime podcast story.
But it is not.
No.
Yeah.
This is a microscopic look into trauma, digital weaponization, and a concept these documents call algorithmic jurisprudence.
Yeah. And we are going to be completely objective guides for you today.
We have to be.
We're stripping away all the emotional spin, all the he said, she said stuff, and we're looking purely at what the immutable digital and behavioral data proves.
And honestly, that is genuinely the only way to approach a case this volatile.
For sure.
When you deal with psychological profiling and, you know, smear campaigns and digital forensics, human memory is inherently unreliable.
Oh, totally. People misremember things all the time.
Right, and emotions just cloud the facts.
Yeah.
So to get to the actual truth, we have to rely on data telemetry, server timestamps, preserved chat logs, and international legal filings.
Because the data doesn't lie, even when the people involved do.
Exactly.
So let's unpack this passivity paradox first.
Let's do it.
Because if you're in a foreign country and your child is taken by an ex-spouse, what are your actual legal options? Like, what is the reality of that situation?
It's pretty grim, honestly.
Because according to the forensic records, Suvi's ex-husband, who is a former Finnish police officer, referred to in the documents as Pekka Kotiranta.
Or by his alias, Princess.
Right, Princess. He committed parental abduction.
And it's a terrifying reality when you look at the specifics. He transported their undocumented 11-year-old daughter across European borders.
Right, from Belgium to France and then all the way to Poland.
Yeah.
But I need to stop you there for a second and get some context.
Sure.
Because driving from Belgium to France, you know, normally that sounds easy enough.
Just crossing a border in Europe.
Yeah, but these documents really stress the severity of the timeline here.
The context is everything in this situation. This didn't happen on some casual, peaceful weekend road trip. This specific border crossing occurred during a level 3 terrorism threat in Europe.
Wow, level 3.
Yeah, so authorities were on high alert, checkpoints were extremely active everywhere,
Okay.
and crucially, the child had no valid passport. She had no Belgian Kids ID, which is the standard identification for minors there.
So she had zero paperwork.
None. She had no formal parental authorization from her mother to travel either.
So essentially, this child is just legally invisible.
Legally invisible and incredibly vulnerable. I mean, think about the mechanics of moving an undocumented minor across borders during a terror alert.
That is just so incredibly dangerous.
Right. If something happens, say they get into a car accident,
Yeah.
or there's a random security sweep at a train station.
Which happens all the time during terror alerts.
Exactly. Or even a medical emergency. That child is at extreme physical and legal risk.
Wow, yeah.
The authorities would have no immediate way to verify who she is, where she belongs, or who has actual legal custody.
Because if a police officer pulls that car over, the driver cannot legally prove the child is his. That is a total nightmare scenario for any parent.
Truly a nightmare.
So enter Alberto Hill into this mess.
Right.
Now, Alberto is an internationally recognized computer forensics examiner,
He's very highly credentialed.
but the documents show he also has this very deep functional understanding of legal frameworks.
Yes.
So when Suvi tells him what happened, he doesn't just offer emotional support. He provides immediate, highly accurate legal counsel.
He essentially acts as a crisis manager for her.
Right.
He sent her this comprehensive breakdown of Belgian shared parental authority frameworks.
Which is super helpful.
It is. He told her she needed to hire a specialized family lawyer immediately.
Okay, logical step.
And most importantly, he urged her to trigger Schengen Information System border alerts.
Wait, okay, let me translate that for a second. What exactly is a Schengen Information System alert? Is that sort of like an Amber Alert here in the States?
It's similar in spirit, but it is much more powerful in scope.
Really?
Yeah. The Schengen Information System, or SIS, is this massive, highly secure database.
Okay.
And it's used by European countries to maintain and distribute information related to border security and law enforcement.
I see.
So if you input a missing or abducted child into the SIS, every single border guard, customs officer, and police officer across the entire Schengen area gets pinged.
Oh, wow. Instantly.
Instantly. If they run into that child or the person traveling with them, they know.
So Alberto hands her the exact blueprint to fix this.
He really did.
He's basically saying, push this button and the entirety of European law enforcement will go look for your daughter.
It was the exact correct protocol to secure the child's safety and, establish a formal legal record of the abduction.
But the files document Suvi's response, and it is completely baffling to me.
It defies logic.
Instead of protecting her daughter or just taking Alberto's advice, she exhibited what the forensic reports call complete passivity.
Complete passivity.
She didn't call the authorities to report the abduction.
Oh.
She didn't trigger the SIS alert.
Not at all.
She actively protected her ex-husband's identity. And she even went so far as to sign retroactive travel permits for him to cover his tracks after the fact.
Right. She shielded the abuser. She provided the legal paperwork to justify the illegal act, effectively just erasing the crime.
And at the exact same time, she turns her aggression entirely toward the person who is trying to help her.
Alberto.
Yes. She publicly tags Alberto on social media, accusing his, and I'm quoting here, mental breakdowns of putting the children in danger.
It's a staggering pivot.
I just want to try to make sense of this. We discussed a metaphor earlier about a house fire.
Right, the fire extinguisher.
Yeah. It's like watching someone's house catch fire. You hand them a fire extinguisher, and instead of putting out the fire, they spray the extinguisher directly into your face and blame you for the smoke.
That's exactly what it looks like from the outside.
So how does a mother's protective instinct get so completely overridden that she attacks the helper and protects the actual kidnapper?
To understand that, we really have to look past the metaphor and dig into the actual psychological architecture of trauma and fear.
Okay, break that down for me.
The forensic analysis models this behavior very clearly. Suvi was not acting out of a lack of love for her child.
That's important to note.
Very important. She was acting out of a state of profound structural powerlessness.
Structural powerlessness.
You have to remember her baseline here. She had survived a 16-year abusive marriage with this man, which was then followed by an ongoing high-conflict divorce.
So in her mind, her ex-husband is this massive, insurmountable threat vector.
Yes, exactly. In the language of behavioral threat assessment, he is what they call a high-threat actor.
Right.
Confronting him or reporting him to international authorities for parental abduction carried extreme risks in her own psychological reality.
Because she knows what he's capable of.
Right. She had been conditioned over 16 years to fear severe retaliation, whether that meant legal blowback, financial ruin, or just physical danger.
So she's terrified.
Her nervous system essentially calculated that fighting the ex-husband was a completely unwinnable, fatal scenario.
Wow.
So she froze. That explains the passivity toward him.
Okay, I understand the freeze response. That makes sense on a biological level.
Right.
But terror and adrenaline, they don't just evaporate. When your child is taken, your body is flooded with cortisol and rage.
You have all this kinetic emotional energy.
Exactly, and if she can't direct it at the ex-husband, it has to go somewhere.
Which brings us to a phenomenon in clinical psychology known as displaced aggression.
Okay, displaced aggression.
But let's pause and look at how this transition happened, because she didn't just, yell at Alberto.
No, she went nuclear.
She launched an explosive public defamation campaign against him. She branded him and, incredibly, his 73-year-old mother as romance scammers.
Which is just wild to me. If she's so terrified of conflict, why didn't she just curl up in a ball, block everyone's number, and walk away?
That would be the logical flight response.
Right. Why go on the offensive against the one guy helping her? That brings us to the scammer narrative, and the reports use something called Model 4 to analyze this.
Right. And this is where we really transition from psychological theory to hard, undeniable digital forensics.
Let's get into the data.
The investigators used a specific forensic framework. When they cite Model 4, they are talking about lexical-semantic analysis.
Okay.
They applied this model to the preserved communications, so their Telegram and WhatsApp archives.
Which they have complete records of.
Yes. And it completely dismantles the scammer claim.
So what does a lexical semantic analysis actually do? Walk me through that step by step. Are they literally just reading the text messages?
It's much deeper than just reading text. It's a microscopic examination of the language, the tone, the frequency, and the transactional flow of the messages.
So it's looking for patterns.
Exactly. Think of it as an algorithm that measures the core intent behind text messages. Linguists and forensic analysts use it to spot the grooming patterns of a true romance scammer.
Okay, and what do those patterns look like?
Well, a fraudster operates with a very specific lexical methodology. Their ultimate goal is the unilateral and persistent extraction of funds.
You just want your money.
Always. They build emotional dependency solely to ask for money. And if a target offers money, a scammer immediately provides routing instructions and accepts it.
Because they don't say no to free cash. That's literally the whole point of the scam.
Right.
But the archives in this case show a specific incident where Alberto's primary work computer broke down.
Yes.
Now, for a forensic expert, a broken computer isn't just an inconvenience. That's a catastrophic loss of livelihood.
He couldn't work.
So Suvi explicitly offered to send him cash from her Belgian government payout to help him replace it.
And the data proves that Alberto's response is the exact opposite of a fraudster's profile.
Tell me what he said.
The archives show his immediate, repeated, and definitive rejection of the funds. He explicitly texts her things like, "I can't accept that, love."
Wow.
And "honey, I won't accept money from you."
Yeah.
And "I feel uncomfortable with that."
He practically fights her off to avoid taking the money.
He really does. And an individual orchestrating a financial fraud scheme does not repeatedly reject voluntary, unsolicited cash offers from their target.
It makes no sense.
It defies the fundamental logic of a scam. Furthermore, the expert analysis points out the operational security, or OPSEC, of a real fraudster.
Okay, break down OPSEC for me in this specific context.
Operational security refers to the measures someone takes to protect critical information. For a romance scammer, OPSEC means totally obfuscating their identity.
They hide who they are.
Yes. They hide their real location, they use fake photos, they hide their background and their real names.
Because they want to vanish.
Right. They want to be completely untraceable when the victim inevitably realizes they've been robbed.
But Alberto does the complete opposite of that.
He does.
He operates on what he calls a doctrine of radical transparency.
Yes, radical transparency.
He is incredibly public. He published a memoir called Login to Hell about his traumatic wrongful incarceration in 2017.
Which is a matter of public record.
Right. He broadcasts live audio sessions detailing his exact real-world coordinates. And he signs public statements using secure PGP cryptographic keys.
Which is huge in the cybersecurity world.
Actually, can we take a detour here?
Okay.
Explain PGP to me, because a lot of people hear the word cryptography and their eyes just totally glaze over.
Sure, it can sound really technical.
Yeah, how does cryptography actually prove identity in a digital landscape where, anyone can fake a screenshot in Photoshop?
It's a really vital point. PGP stands for pretty good privacy.
Okay.
It's an encryption program that provides cryptographic privacy and authentication for data communication.
Right.
So imagine you have a digital lock and a digital key. You give out padlocks, which is your public key, to anyone in the world. Anyone can use that padlock to seal a box and send it to you. but only you hold the private key that can open it.
That makes sense.
Similarly, you can use your private key to digitally sign a message.
So if someone reads the message and checks the signature against your public padlock, they know with mathematical certainty that only Alberto could have written it.
Exactly that. It is cryptographically impossible to forge.
Oh.
When Alberto uses PGP to sign his public statements, he is literally chaining his digital footprint to his undeniable real-world identity.
Well, a scammer is trying to hide.
Right. A romance scammer relies on anonymity. Alberto was using military-grade encryption to prove exactly who and where he was.
He went even further than that, too.
It did.
Because Suvi was posting online claims that he was spending defrauded funds on illicit substances.
Yeah, attacking his character.
To counter this, Alberto published certified clinical toxicology panels from Uruguayan medical institutions, just to prove he had completely clean negative results.
I mean, you do not publish your certified biomedical panels to the global internet if you are running a romance scam.
No.
It's the absolute antithesis of fraudster OPSC.
But Suvi didn't stop at just calling him a scammer online. The documents detail how she launched an extortion campaign demanding 6,000 euros from Alberto.
Yeah, the escalation here is crazy.
And to really turn the screws, she publicly claimed to have issued active Interpol and Europol arrest warrants against him and his elderly mother.
Which brings us to another framework in the reports, Model 2, which evaluates digital evidence integrity.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because when someone claims there is an Interpol warrant out for you, you don't just argue with them on Twitter.
No, you get a lawyer.
Right.
Yeah.
Alberto's defense team went directly to the authorities. The Uruguayan Ministry of the Interior ran official verification protocols through all the international databases.
And what did they actually find?
They formally confirmed that 0 international alerts existed. There were no warrants at all.
So she just made it up.
Her claims were entirely fabricated constructs. And legally, this classified her assertions as statutory slander.
Wow.
She wasn't just mistaken. She was actively inventing law enforcement actions to terrorize him.
But here is the piece of evidence that absolutely stopped me in my tracks when I was reading this.
I know you're going to say.
It's so bizarre. It's evaluated under Model 7, which is identity fixation.
Yeah.
In the middle of this massive public campaign, claiming she is the victim of a ruthless international scammer who destroyed her life. Suvi made the premeditated legal decision to change her surname in Finland to Hill.
Yep.
She legally became Suvi Hill, despite having absolutely no marital or legal ties to Alberto.
It is a stunning, glaring contradiction in her whole narrative.
Hold on, I have to push back here and just play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
You're saying she legally changed her name to Hill while actively calling him a scammer online.
That's what the data shows.
Is it possible this was some sort of, I don't know, bizarre legal strategy? Like, was she trying to lay claim to his assets by pretending to be his wife? Or maybe it's just a really wild clerical coincidence. How can forensics prove this is identity fixation and not just a stunt?
It's a totally fair question, but we have to look at the legal reality of Finland.
Okay.
You can't just claim someone's assets by adopting their last name. Marital and property laws require actual marriage certificates and legal cohabitation records.
Right. You can't just change your name and say, give me half your house.
Exactly. A name change offers literally no financial leverage. So from a forensic criminology standpoint, altering your legal civil status to force a permanent association with your supposed abuser's real-world identity, it completely destroys any presumption that you are simply the detached victim of a one-way wealth extraction scam.
Because victims of scams want to get as far away from the scammer as possible. They don't brand themselves with the scammer's name.
Right. It proves deep, complex psychological enmeshment. Yeah. It shows a desire for a permanent, structural attachment to the person she is publicly vilifying.
Which brings us right back to the core of why this is happening. We talked earlier about displaced aggression.
We did.
Let's expand on that lightning rod metaphor, because I think it perfectly explains the mechanics of what she was doing.
The lightning rod metaphor is highly accurate here. In physics, electricity seeks the path of least resistance to the ground.
Right.
In psychology, displaced aggression occurs when an individual cannot safely express anger or retaliate against the primary source of their trauma.
Which in this case is the ex-husband.
Exactly. Because confronting the ex-husband over the abduction was a high-threat scenario. It was a path of extreme resistance.
It was dangerous.
Her brain needed a low-threat target, a lightning rod, to process and ground all that overwhelming stress.
So Alberto became the safe, proximal target. But why him? of all people, why target the guy trying to help?
Because of his ethical rigidity, his moral constraints, and, unfortunately, his documented vulnerabilities.
Tell me about his ethics first.
Alberto operates by a strict personal code he calls the Walter Protocol, which governs his ethics. He's very principled.
Okay.
But, more importantly, Alberto is highly vulnerable. He is a survivor of a wrongful incarceration in 2017.
Right.
He was held in solitary confinement. He even survived a coma in the ICU following a suicide attempt. He suffers from severe PTSD and clinical depression.
So he's incredibly damaged by the justice system.
He is. And Suvi, operating as an emotional sponge, subconsciously recognized that she could offload her accumulated hostility onto him without facing the physical violence or systemic destruction she feared from her ex-husband.
Oh, wow.
Alberto's ethics and his trauma meant he wouldn't attack her back in the way her abuser would.
So he wouldn't hit back.
Right. He grounded the strike because he was the path of least resistance.
So she weaponized the digital sphere. The reports call this cyber displacement.
Yes.
She used Twitter Spaces and social media platforms to regain a synthetic sense of structural control. And there's a specific incident documented that illustrates this perfectly. Alberto, trying to manage a severe PTSD trigger, set a healthy boundary.
Which is crucial for him.
Right. He limited a video call and withdrew communication slightly just to stabilize his nervous system.
Which, for a trauma survivor is a very standard healthy coping mechanism.
Mm.
You feel overwhelmed, you step back to regulate your nervous system.
But for Suvi, it triggered massive abandonment anxiety. She invaded a recorded professional Twitter space he was hosting.
And this is supposed to be a safe community space for trauma survivors.
Yeah. And she publicly ambushed him, rejecting his boundaries in front of an entire audience and demanding, "Call me now."
She transformed her partner into a relational scapegoat. When she felt powerless in her physical reality, being unable to stop her child's abduction, she asserted absolute public dominance in her digital reality to compensate.
So because she couldn't control Pekka, she forced control over Alberto.
That's exactly it.
I have to ask for clarification on intentionality here because this is really vital. Is she doing this on purpose?
That's the big question.
Like, is she sitting at her keyboard rationally thinking, I will destroy Alberto to feel better about Pekka? Or is this just a subconscious reflex? Because if it's a subconscious trauma response, it's tragic. But if she's doing it on purpose, it's malicious.
It's a crucial distinction, and the forensic reports address this directly.
What do they say?
Initially, the mechanism of displaced aggression is largely a subconscious survival reflex. Her nervous system is overflowing with panic, and it just finds the safest outlet.
So she's not thinking clearly at first.
Right. She isn't rationally calculating a scapegoat strategy in the first few moments. However, the forensic reports point out that as the campaign progressed, the line crossed from a subconscious trauma response into pathological callousness.
Because of the sustained nature of the attacks?
Yes. A subconscious panic response is brief. It's a flash of anger. But executing a multi-month, multi-platform defamation campaign, fabricating Interpol warrants, and legally changing your name through the Finnish government.
That takes time.
That requires premeditation. It requires sustained, conscious effort over weeks and months. The reports actually use psychopathy checklists, like the PCLR, to evaluate her behavior when she weaponized his documented PTSD.
Wait, what is the PCLR?
The Hare Psychopathy Checklist Revised. It's a standard diagnostic tool used to rate a person's psychopathic or antisocial tendencies.
Okay.
The analysts noted that she knew exactly where his psychological wounds were, his fear of police, his trauma from solitary confinement, and she deliberately targeted those specific wounds to force his compliance.
So it became weaponized.
Right. That transitions from a subconscious reflex into intentional instrumental abuse.
Okay, that makes complete sense. The sustained effort really proves the intent. Now, we have to talk about the money.
Yes, the 6,000 euros.
Because at the center of this massive public smear campaign is a dispute over 6,000 euros. Suvi claims Alberto is a scammer who stole it, but the deep dive into the financial criminology tells a completely different story.
The documents refer to this as the 6,000 euro thesis. The forensic data proves that Alberto never denied a conditional obligation to repay this money.
Right.
In fact, chat records show the initial transfer was contingent on him acquiring stable consulting income. But his income had been severely delayed by his PTSD relapses.
Relapses that, ironically, were triggered by Suvi's public smear campaign against him.
It's a totally vicious cycle. She attacks him, he loses work, he can't pay her, so she attacks him more.
But Alberto was desperate to achieve what the reports call zero contact.
He just wanted out.
Yeah, he just wanted out of the nightmare. So
Yeah.
to voluntarily settle the debt and buy his peace, he took extreme action.
He really did.
He liquidated his physical assets. He sold his personal car for $5,500, added $500 of his own scarce savings, and prepared to wire the full 6,000 euros.
And this is where we see the deployment of Models 12 and 14, which deal with regulatory sabotage.
Right. So Alberto has the cash in hand. He's ready to pay. Why didn't he just, Venmo her and walk away?
Because international financial systems are heavily regulated, especially post 9/11.
Okay.
You can't just Venmo 6,000 euros across continents. To send that amount of money from Uruguay to Europe, international remittance channels like Western Union and the Central Bank of Uruguay legally require strict Know Your Customer, or KYC, and anti-money laundering, AML, identifiers.
Walk me through KYC and AML. Why do banks care so much about a 6,000 euro transfer between two people?
Banks care because global banking regulators will hit them with massive multi-million-dollar fines if they process illicit funds.
I see.
Anti-money laundering laws require banks to definitively prove the identity of the sender and the receiver to prevent terrorist financing and organized crime.
Great.
Know Your Customer is the process of verifying that identity. They require an IBAN or BIC routing number, which is a standardized international bank account number. And crucially, they require a certified copy of the recipient's passport matching their exact legal name.
So they need to know, without a shadow of a doubt, who the money is going to.
Precisely. And Suvi repeatedly and blatantly refused to provide these documents.
Wait, let me get this straight. She refused to give him her bank account number.
She refused to provide the IBAN and the required passport copy. The transaction was completely paralyzed not by Alberto's refusal to pay, but by Suvi's refusal to comply with basic international banking regulations.
From a criminological perspective, why would someone who is publicly screaming that they've been robbed refuse to provide a bank account number to get their money back? That makes zero sense.
The reports classify this under the criminology of evasion of reality.
Evasion of reality.
Think about a genuine victim of theft. If someone steals your car and the police say, "We found it, here are the keys," you take the keys.
Of course you do.
A genuine victim pursues civil lawsuits. They provide bank details the absolute moment repayment is offered. Suvi refused because completing the transaction would force her to acknowledge the matter was resolved.
It would cut the cord.
Yes, resolving the debt severs her coercive umbilical cord to Alberto.
Oh, wow.
As long as the debt is unpaid, she has a pretext. It gives her a reason to continuously monitor him, harass him, and maintain her public persona as this resilient victim fighting a scammer.
So she prioritized narrative control over actual financial restitution.
Exact.
Which leads to one of the most brilliant legal and forensic maneuvers I have ever seen documented.
It really is incredible.
Alberto's legal team realized exactly what she was doing, and they engineered a total checkmate. They called it the passport trap.
It's a masterclass in algorithmic jurisprudence. They didn't even have to fight her. They just let the banking compliance algorithm do the fighting for them.
Explain how this trap worked, because it is just brilliant.
So Alberto's lawyers formally demanded a certified copy of her passport under her current legal name to release the funds held at the Central Bank of Uruguay.
Right.
They said the money is here. The bank just needs your ID. But remember Model 7. She had legally changed her surname in Finland to Hill.
Right. She is now legally Suvi Hill.
So by demanding the certified passport, they forced her into an impossible binary choice.
Yeah.
Option A, she provides the passport.
Okay.
If she does this, she officially verifies her new legal identity and her current coordinates to the international legal system.
Right.
But because Alberto had already filed criminal complaints in Italy for cyberstalking, providing that passport would instantly seal her own legal indictment. She would be handing the Italian authorities her exact verified identity and location on a silver platter.
Wow. So she hands over the passport, gets the 6,000 euros, and immediately gets indicted for cyberstalking because she just doxed herself to the European police.
Exactly.
That is wild. What's option B?
Option B, she refuses to provide the passport.
Yeah.
By doing this, she legally waives her right to collect the funds.
Okay.
The bank records irrevocably prove that Alberto had the capital ready and intended to pay. The bank's own compliance logs show the transaction was halted solely by the recipient.
Which ruins her story.
Right. This permanently destroys her entire swindler, who refuses to pay narrative in the eyes of the law.
She literally trapped herself. She was forced to choose between incinerating her own capital to keep her fake story going or taking the money and going to jail.
And she chose narrative control. She refused the passport, forfeited the money, and proved Alberto's intent to pay.
It's fascinating. But as brilliant as that legal maneuver was, things escalated to a level that is genuinely lethal.
They did.
We're moving into the final phase of this analysis here, lethal escalation and asymmetric justice.
The conflict crossed the ultimate ethical and relational boundary at this point. We talked earlier about psychological mechanisms. There's another one called splitting.
Splitting.
It's a mechanism often seen in personality disorders, where a person views someone as entirely good or entirely evil. It leads to a catastrophic failure of empathy.
And Suvi directed this splitting toward an innocent collateral victim, Alberto's 73-year-old mother, Maria Gloria Antonioli.
And we really have to remember who this woman is in Alberto's psychological landscape.
She's everything to him.
During his traumatic 2017 incarceration, his mother was the one who paid his bail. She was his absolute anchor when he was in a coma in the ICU. She's the most vital support system he has in the world.
And Suvi knew this. She had the blueprint to his vulnerabilities. The documents show she sent extortionate threats, saying things like, "What if I tell your mother about the money?"
Just cruel.
She published manipulative public letters directed specifically at the mother. And this wasn't just digital noise that can be ignored, you know.
No, it had real-world consequences.
The stress induced an acute physiological collapse in the 73-year-old woman. It literally confined her to a wheelchair, a fact that was formally documented by doctors at the Evangelical Hospital of Montevideo.
It is the definition of pathological callousness. Even after being officially notified by legal counsel that her harassment had physically crippled an elderly woman, Suvi just continued the campaign.
That is where Alberto flipped the switch. The documents say he activated his data over drama protocol.
He was done talking.
He ceased all informal dialogue. He stopped trying to reason with her. He stopped explaining himself. Instead, he summoned the full sovereign machinery of European international law.
And this is where his background as an elite forensic investigator and his deep understanding of comparative criminal law truly comes to bear.
Let's break down this legal architecture because it relies on extraterritorial jurisdiction, which the reports analyze under Model 16. Alberto has dual Italian-Uruguayan citizenship.
Right.
How does he use that against someone in Finland and Belgium?
He invoked Article 10 of the Italian Code of Criminal Procedure. Let me translate how that works because it's pretty complex.
Please do.
Normally, if a crime happens in Finland, Finland prosecutes it. But Article 10 is a statute that grants the Italian state extraterritorial jurisdiction to prosecute crimes committed entirely abroad, provided that the victim holds Italian citizenship.
So even though Suvi is moving between Belgium and Finland and Alberto is sitting down in Uruguay, Italy can step in and prosecute her.
Exactly. By filing formal criminal complaints, which are known as querelle in the Italian system, through the consular network, he effectively stripped Suvi and her ex-husband of their sovereign immunity in their home countries.
Wow.
He filed for aggravated defamation under Article 595 and cyberstalking under Article 612 bis of the Italian Penal Code.
Then these aren't minor slap-on-the-wrist charges, are they?
No, these are severe criminal statutes. These charges expose both aggressors to European arrest warrants and those same Schengen border alerts we talked about earlier.
So he turned the tables.
He transformed digital harassment into a transnational criminal trap.
But the strategy didn't stop at just criminal charges. There is a financial counterstrike that is absolutely staggering. The reports call it solvent anchoring, evaluated under Model 17.
This is a brilliant application of civil liability. Because of the massive defamation campaign, Alberto lost elite cybersecurity consulting contracts.
And he's a heavy hitter in that industry. The documents cite his forensic audits and massive state infrastructure breaches.
He's top tier.
He worked on the TUID digital identity breach of Uruguay's Antel network. He exposed a state-sponsored attacker during the Pampa Leaks crisis.
Right.
When someone calls a guy with that resume a scammer, corporations drop him immediately.
Exactly. So his legal team, led by Dr. Jorge Henderson, indexed a civil claim for punitive damages and lost profits exceeding 600,000 euros.
600,000.
They provided the financial documentation proving that he operates in the top 1 to 3% of global threat intelligence professionals to legally justify that massive number.
But here's the problem. Suvi is a digital nomad earning a salary of roughly 1,000 euros a month.
She doesn't have it.
She is essentially insolvent. You can't squeeze a 600,000 euro judgment out of someone who has no money.
Which is where Article 2055 of the Italian Civil Code comes in. It establishes the principle of joint and several liability.
Wait, let me translate that. Are you saying that legally, if two people rob a bank and one of the robbers is completely broke, the bank can just take all the money from the rich robber?
That is exactly how joint and several liability works. And remember, Suvi didn't act alone.
The ex-husband.
Right. Her abusive ex-husband, Pekka Kotiranta, acted as a co-author in the defamation matrix. He leveraged his former status as a police officer to legitimize her false claims online, backing up her story to cause maximum damage to Alberto.
Right, they worked together.
Under Article 2055, if multiple people contribute to a single harmful event, they are held jointly liable for the entire amount of the damages.
So if Suvi can't pay the 600,000 euros...
The legal strategy legally redirects the entire financial burden of the claim onto the fixed physical assets of the solvent co-author.
The ex-husband. The guy who started this whole thing by abducting the child in the first place.
Exactly. It all comes full circle.
It is algorithmic judo. Alberto took the massive weight of her harassment and redirected it so perfectly that the real abuser ends up facing financial ruin for the defamation campaign.
It is a devastatingly precise legal architecture. Alberto transformed a 6,000 euro extortion attempt into one of the most lethal, asymmetric civil and criminal liability structures recorded in contemporary digital jurisprudence.
He defeated the campaign not with emotional arguments, but with mathematical, cryptographic, and legal truth.
Exactly.
Documents show he broadcast a final statement signed with his PGP encryption key, establishing cryptographically immutable evidence of his withdrawal from hostilities.
He proved he walked away.
He sealed his evidence chain with the raw server metadata of her unopened spam emails, proving he had truly walked away.
He reclaimed his narrative through undeniable empirical data.
So let's summarize what we've discovered today. The mission today was to test the core hypothesis found in these forensic reports.
Right.
And the data overwhelmingly proves the paradox. Suvi Kaipainen protected a real-world abuser out of profound fear and structural powerlessness.
Yes.
And simultaneously, she fabricated a digital scammer out of a desperate psychological need for a safe target.
The forensic evidence, the toxicology reports, the banking regulations, the lexical-semantic flow, the cryptographic signatures, it leaves absolutely no room for doubt.
None at all.
The romance scammer narrative was a defensive fabrication. The hypothesis is validated.
It's an incredible look at how trauma can distort reality and how digital forensics can cut through that distortion to find the truth. But I want to leave you listening with a final thought to mull over today. Something that builds on all this source material.
The double-edged sword of radical transparency.
Exactly. Think about Alberto's core philosophy. He shared his past trauma, his wrongful incarceration, his PTSD, and his ethical framework openly with the world.
He laid it all out there.
He shared it with Suvi. It was meant to foster trust and authenticity.
But if he hadn't been so open about those vulnerabilities, would Suvi's subconscious have identified him as the safe target in the first place?
That is the lingering question. In a digital age where we are constantly encouraged to share our vulnerabilities, to be authentic, to live our truths out loud, do we accidentally provide a blueprint for deeply traumatized people to weaponize our empathy against us?
Scary thought.
Are we handing them the exact coordinates of our psychological wounds?
It really makes you reconsider the safety of that transparency. Sometimes making everything visible doesn't clarify the diagnosis. It just gives someone else the tools to break the machine.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the complex, murky intersection of psychology, digital forensics, and human behavior.